we're taking what the machine learning, the AI models can do. It's not really 100% ready for production, right? So it will create amazing assets, amazing creatives, amazing copy, but there's something about that content that won't be ready to be shipped as is. Maybe the product's going to be distorted. Maybe there's going to be something weird about that email it created. We're building this AI vertical stack on top of the base models to make it production grade and actually completely automate the way you do lifecycle marketing.
Nir, what's up, man? How are you? How's it going?
Doing fine, Mark. Great seeing you, man.
It's great to see you again. I can't believe it's been like, what, 2 months since K-Boss?
Yeah,
Something like that?
time flies.
Yeah, it's crazy. Thank you so much for taking some time today. I've been really excited about this interview. One, because, and just so everyone knows that's listening, like Nir and I were both at the Calavio K-Boss event. His company, Eikona, was actually one of the headline sponsors. And we stumbled across each other like on the floor, and I ended up getting a demo from one of his colleagues, and we connected and just had a great time at the event. And I want to say one of my highlights of the event was getting to meet you and getting to go through the demo of Icona, and also just having the deep conversation about AI and lifecycle marketing. I have never seen a product like yours before. And I think you're so early to the market with where things are going to be going over the next, let's call it 12, 18, 24 months. So with that said, I'm stoked to have you on today. And before we get started, just how have things been? I know it's been a little while since we connected less, but how have you been?
First of all, Mark, thank you so much for having me on, especially at this time. You recently became a father, so
Thank you.
I don't know how hard it is, but I've heard from people. And
Appreciate that. It's a
yeah,
blessing, and I'm just have a smile on my face every time I look into my daughter's eyes and I do a feeding or just spending time with her. It's amazing. So thank you for that.
yep. I have a friend who told me that in his opinion, being a father is like being a drug addict. So you don't get sleep and you feel really tired all the time, but when you're on a high, you're like over there. So that's his analogy. I don't know, I haven't been there yet, but it sounds good.
I would say there is a bit of an addiction to just
Yeah.
holding your daughter, my daughter, and just being with her. I'll say this, like every time I've ever held like someone else's baby, I mean my friend's baby, like you usually hold the baby for a couple minutes and then you're like, this is exhausting, and you're like, hand the baby back, right?
Yeah.
And like last night, I just found myself like hanging out on the couch with my wife, my daughter, our two dogs, watching some TV, relaxing after dinner, and just having her on my chest, doing some skin for an hour and a half, and just being
Yep.
like, I can do this all night. This just feels so right.
It's
It's
intoxicating.
magical. It's
Yeah.
intoxicating. It is. And for me, it's like I I'm now just thinking like this is partial. This thing is made by me and my wife. I feel like it's brought us even closer together. And now I want to be a provider for this human. I want to be like, I was telling my wife last night, I'm like, I think there's going to be one day when she's going to get married. And I'm like, that's going to be the most magical day of my life. Like, I think
That's
even more
such an
than her.
amazing thought to think
Yeah.
at this
Oh,
stage.
yeah. It's incredible. And I'm so excited for the future and what we have. But like I said, we'll get back to it. I can talk for days about it.
Yeah,
But
yeah, yeah.
thank you.
That's
I
very
appreciate
exciting.
that.
And thank you for your time. And also, it's Black Friday coming up, so I know, how everyone's so busy. Really
Yeah, it's a
excited to
busy
be
season.
here. Was a lot of fun at K-Boss, a lot of fun meeting you and all the gang there. And definitely the best part of K-Boss for me was meeting you and the guys and go out for dinner and learning so much from you as such an experienced operator. And since then, startup I don't know, it's like being tied up to this roller coaster. So you step inside, out. This looks like a fun ride. Let's try it on. Then you sit on the chair and you get the thing on. And then you realize you're strapped onto to a roller coaster. Every day feels like a year and things are moving so fast and you're like at warp speed. And a month ago, as a month have passed, and now we have two new clients, signed this major deal, have two new employees, product made some big milestones. Every second that goes by is really a lot. Very exciting, very high frequency. And yeah, but we're really excited about the up and coming quarter. We're going to introduce some new stuff in the product that's pretty revolutionary, and excited to see how the market's going to react to it.
Awesome. And like I said, I'm so stoked to have you on today. And I know we're going to do a little bit of a demo of what your product looks like and some of the stuff that you guys have done
Yeah.
in the past. But before we get to that, give us a high level background. Like, how did you get started in AI and technology in the first place? Let's go back. Like, how did you get here?
I was a geeky child and always meddled in the tech and stuff like that. But when I used to program as a kid, really early on, and I really liked it. But when I heard about there's this thing called machine learning or artificial intelligence, basically it's a program that you don't program. And you have a computer that basically learns how to do stuff and without a person actually programming it and telling it what to do. So that looked like magic to me. The first time I heard that such a thing exists, I said, all right, I have to understand how it works and how can you make a computer learn. And so went on, I did a master's degree in machine learning and dove into the details. I read a book in 2017. It's a book by Yuval Noah Harari. Maybe it's called Homo Deus. So Yuval Noah Harari, he wrote Sapiens, and then he wrote Homo Deus. He wrote a bunch of other books afterwards. I really like his work. And Homo Deus basically talks about the future of mankind and how technology is going to change stuff. And he's like an historian. He has a very wide perspective about stuff. So he goes way back like to prehistoric times. And he tells you how the economy has changed when people started to talk. Because we didn't talk back then,
Yeah.
100,000 years ago. And then he talks about the agricultural revolution, how people started cultivating land, how that completely changed society. Then the industrial revolution. And then he says, guess what? The next revolution is going to be the AI revolution.
Wow.
And it's already starting to happen as we speak. And I remember that's the exact same reaction I had. It was, wow, this guy's right. We're like in the middle of the revolution. And if there's a revolution, I want to see what's going on. I don't want to be left outside. So I'm going to dive headfirst into that. I'm going to understand how it works. And I'm going to master this new tool, which is so exciting. So that's my core motivation in getting into AI, doing my master's degree and doing the research in academia that I did. And that's what drove us, me and my co-founder Omer, to start Eikona.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm just curious, when did you start coding? Was that as a certain age?
I think the fourth grade, which is like
Wow.
10. Yeah, I was 10.
Wow. So you've
Yeah.
been interested in technology for a better part of your life.
Yes, I was a geeky kid. I like sitting on the computer and writing video games.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So I couldn't agree with you more that this AI revolution is going to change humanity. Like, we're still in infancy. We thought like these LLMs in increasing productivity here and having these little tools, it's like it's the crust, on it's
Yep.
the crusty top layer of everything. And that's why I was so intrigued when I met you at the event and we had the conversations we had at dinner and walking around. I was so impressed with what you're building because I feel like a lot of the AI technology that's on the market right now is essentially like wrapping LLMs in a new package, right?
Yep.
It's
Yep.
not really progressive. It's more or less like taking an API that you can connect to and wrapping it a certain way, right?
Yep. It's true.
But it's not, when you think about the real value in it and real technology, like what you're building is truly revolutionary. So I'd love to just hear more about the startup around Icona and what are you guys building now?
So basically, we're taking what the machine learning, the AI models can do which is amazing, but it's not really 100% ready for production, right? It's 90% there. So it will create amazing assets, amazing creatives, amazing copy, but there's something about that content that won't be ready to be shipped as is. Maybe the product's going to be distorted. Maybe the language is going to be off. Maybe there's going to be something weird about that email it created. We're building this AI vertical stack on top of the base models to make it production grade and actually completely automate the way you do lifecycle marketing, which is the first value proposition. And the second thing is, which is the maybe the most important one, is we basically change the content based on how people react to it. So we're gonna automate the process of A/B testing using Gen AI. And that's the big change we're introducing into the market. So we all know that creatives are super important. We just had the conversation before. It's so important the image you show to the person. We see it all the time on paid media. We see it also on own media. The image that you show, the video, the language that you speak can make such a substantial difference in how people engage with content. But we don't really know what works. No one knows. Even the best art director, the best creative person in the world, maybe will have a hunch about a couple of winners, but a lot of times we're surprised when we find a winner in creative. And basically, what we do is we resort to blind guessing, guesswork. Or maybe we'll do an A/B test every now and then. It's going to be so much work to do that A/B test. Then something succeeds. We don't really know why. And Gen AI is the engine that can change this altogether, because Gen AI is going to give us the power to create a lot of content, to see what actually works to different population, and then to learn from that. And so you won't have a human under the hood saying, "Oh, all right, that worked because it was a red background." No, the machine is going to learn and to adjust the content ever so slightly until everyone gets the content that's most appealing to them. And it's really going to change how people consume content. So I really think that a couple years from now, every website you visit, every ad, every email you receive, every SMS you get, it's going to be slightly different than the person beside you, because there was an adaptive layer between you and the marketer, which shifted the language just a bit so you would find it more attractive. And that is going to be a very big shift in marketing.
I don't think I've heard anyone explain it better than you right there. So that's incredible. So right now, with where you guys are at, what you're doing, like you're focused on lifecycle marketing, right? Yeah.
Yep.
And
Yep.
what are you guys doing right now with the product? I know you guys are very close and can't talk about your specific clients that you're working with, but
Yep.
what industry are you finding the best success with, and what's the best use case for a brand or a company that could be incorporating Eikona into their tech stack to help performance when it comes to retention and lifecycle?
So we have two ICPs. One is mid-market. Usually it's direct-to-consumer brands. These are very high-performance operators. And a lot of times they're going to have 30, 40, maybe 50% of their revenue coming in from lifecycle channels. And by the way, it's amazing how there's no algorithmic solution to creative on these channels, right? I have to
There's
take
nothing.
like
It's so static. It's literally build the design, some segmentation, maybe a couple of dynamic fields with name, location, or with viewed product. But
Yep.
still, when you think about the tagging structure we're using in the standard events within ESPs, it's so basic compared to what the opportunity is to transform every experience to generate better results. Yeah.
It is, man, and it is. And you look at paid media. So paid media evolved a while ago when we started having social media, right? So social media like completely disrupted marketing. Social media actually gave birth to direct-to-consumer brands, and it gave a marketer the ability to target, pinpoint people with the creatives that they want to see. And that actually gave birth to direct-to-consumer. So it's so strong, and you have marketers spending 70% of their marketing spend directly on paid media because the algorithms there that adapt creative to a person are so strong that it's worth it. But when you're going to own media and lifecycle marketing, it's zero algorithmic solution. Everyone's going to get the same creative. Maybe you did some manual segmentation, but there's no algorithm like you have on Meta. So basically, that's our first avenue. It's the direct to consumer brands having a lot of revenue coming from lifecycle. What we do is we plug into their marketing automation platform. Can be Klaviyo, can be Iterable, can be Salesforce, can be Braze pretty soon. And we integrate into that. It's like really a 30-second integration. Use an OAuth or an API key, have us integrated. And then we become like this marketing creative department, AI department connected into your marketing automation. And every content you're going to send out, it's going to get duplicated with AI variations that preserve your product, preserve your brand, preserve your language, but start to adapt themselves to the different audiences that you are sending to. And we're going to use all of your first party data to actually understand how people react. And a lot of times it's not how you segmented them. So we went on with this a very big online travel agency, right? And sending millions, tens of millions of emails. And they had a certain way to segment, and they used all of the things you talked about, like first name and product recommendations. But everyone got the same subject line, and everyone got the same creative, and everyone got the same HTML out, right? So we ran our system on that. And very quickly, we saw very strong signals that people from a certain geography and from a certain loyalty class reacted extremely well for a certain language and a certain creative language. Like 50% more clicks better, right? And that was like 20% of their entire population. That's a huge gain. And then we saw that people that their last reservation was only a one night stay. Who would have thought? That's a segment. And these people react extremely well to a certain type of imagery. Like again, like 50% uplift, statistically significant test after test. And that only comes out from the data when you have the power to explore it with Gen AI and then to use an algorithm to actually use the first party data to understand what worked. So our first customer is like the direct to consumer brands. The other one is going to be the enterprise. It's going to be usually it's healthcare, insurance, finance. These are big companies
I
and
get assuming too hospitality, right? Yeah.
hospitality, traveling,
Yeah.
and travel as well. These are very big companies and they have a very big, the lifetime value of a client there is very important. So maybe they won't have 10% of the revenue, 50% of the revenue coming from lifecycle streams, but it's a multi-billion dollar in revenue company. And about 10% of the revenue is going to come from these streams. And it's very important for them to retain the client because if you buy insurance, probably you're going to stay with the same provider for the rest of your life. So you're worth a lot. So I was talking to the CRM manager of this very big bank in the States. He told me, you know what we are? We do two things in this bank. We understand how much interest to give you on your loan, and we keep you from going to the other bank, which gives you the exact same proposition. So it's the life cycle, the retention of the client there is so important, then it's really important for them to do the best they can there. So these are the two ICPs that we have, two clients we address.
That's awesome. I'd love for you to give us a quick demo. I know you've got a little demo that we talked about earlier. Would you mind sharing that? We can kind of walk through it.
Yeah, I just need to look up something that's not a production client right
Yeah,
now.
yeah.
Let's find something up. Yeah, so we built this, Omar and myself, we built this a while ago when we wanted to validate the concept of what we're doing, which is basically iterative Gen AI guided A/B testing, right? So we built this website advocating for this smartwatch, selling this smartwatch. This smartwatch doesn't exist. It's not a real product, but we wanted to see how people engage with it. Will people join the wait list based on what they see in this website, which is basically marketing content? So we built it from scratch and we variated this character, the main hero presenter, and we built this AI engine that preserves the smartwatch but changes the character to different characters. And we try to look how different people react to it, right? So we put it into the machine. The machine said, all right, I'm going to try different types of personas to present this smartwatch. So we had the first one, which is John. We called him John because he looks like a John to us. And we have other types that were generated by the machine. You can see that the watch is completely preserved. Like this exact same product looks pixel perfect. We did that a year ago with the algorithms we built. And the character around it changes. And then we only looked at how different demographics react to it in terms of geography. So we did only the most basic test we can do to see how different people react. And then you saw very striking data. So you saw people from Eastern Europe reacting much, much better to this character than for John as an A/B test. So if you're an Eastern European user, you're going into the site, the first image is this guy, you have a 20% more chance to leave your email if you saw that guy. And which is it's surprising for marketers to say, hey, that guy doesn't necessarily look like he's from Eastern Europe. But then you see, all right, wait, there's a bunch of other features in this photo apart from the ethnicity, right? There's the haircut, there's the glasses, there's the smile, there's his body shape. He has a ring also on. So there's a lot going on here, except from the first thing that we noticed. And what the system does basically is after it finds a winner, it reiterates with another test, right? So if John was the best in the United States, then we're going to look for another version of John that's going to be even better, or maybe even better for a specific demographic inside the United States. Say, I don't know, maybe you're using an iPhone or an Android. Maybe I know something about your previous purchase, or a lot of data in the first-party data. In this example, this guy looks like Mel Gibson to me with the haircut, the mullet, and the stain on the shirt. He got 50% more clicks than the original John, which was already the winner. And it goes on and on with a bunch of different examples. After we did this, we said, all right, this is where Gen AI can actually move the needle. This can be disruptive. And this is something that technology is really good at, is hacking people's minds.
Wow, that's very impressive. So with the Eikona product right now, let's say if I'm a D2C women's fashion brand, right? And I'm doing 200 million a year, and I have a list of 900,000 active subscribers.
That sounds like a couple of our clients. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm assuming that's like your ICP for D2C. Because I know from our conversation, if you got a 50,000 person list, like you don't really have enough data for this tool to be useful at this point. You're more working with larger brands that are more like up market and that are bigger. What would be a great use case or a test with Eikona with a brand like that? Would we essentially say, hey, we're in Calavio, we've got all this active data, we're going to run a Black Friday. Let's say we're running 3 or 4 emails on Black Friday, 2 to 3 SMS. Maybe we also have a couple push campaigns. Like, what's the layer and the use case that would help a brand like that during a specific campaign to maximize that? Would you be transitioning a hero image, like an iconic hero image of a woman wearing a certain product or a certain type of product they had, and then those variations would change?
So what we do is we work on campaigns and we work on flows, right? We do only lifecycle marketing. So we integrate into your system, and then we offer you a 2 months free pilot. We don't charge a dime. There's no strings attached. In the course of these 2 months, we basically start A/B testing everything on your system, and we're going to take out each campaign that goes out. It's going to be A/B tested depending on the cohort and the size. If it's around 1 million people in the mailing list, usually we can put in 4, maybe 5 variations each test on the campaign. And we're going to do the same for your flows. And after 2 months, we expect you to see a double-digit uplift in clicks. Usually we optimize for clicks because there's enough data the system needs data, right? So if you're optimizing for purchases, sometimes there's...
Yeah. CTR is a good use case to be able to tell, hey, and especially if you know what your on-site conversion is, right?
Exactly.
The variables that you're testing are in email. They're in the design, in the variations of that.
Yep.
What's happening on site isn't, there's no changes, at least right now.
Yep. Yeah, that's true. And also, attribution is it's such a complicated thing with emails. Everyone's doing it differently. It's really
Totally.
hard to actually understand. So the signal is very noisy, but when it comes to clicks, it's really straightforward. Either you clicked or you didn't. You can talk about open rates and as compared to clicks, which is something very important because we also change the subject line and the preview text.
Oh, wow. So you're changing variations in subject and preview as well. Wow.
Yeah, we're doing everything. Actually, you can see amazing stuff only by. It's amazing how an emoji can give you a 20%. An emoji.
Totally. And an emoji that evokes a certain type of feeling, and an emoji that's also on brand, right? To a certain extent. So
It has to.
do you guys change any messaging too within email, or is it more of just subject line, pre-header, and then visuals within the email?
So it depends on how much the client wants to go with that. So basically, it's very important for us to give the marketer tools, and each marketer wants to do something else. So we can do some things that are very easy with AI. So a lot of times we have people saying, "All right, I don't want too much AI in my brand." So one of the things we do is that the AI we do, it looks amazingly realistic. So it's not your regular models. We have a bunch of layers on top of them that make it look amazingly well. But if you don't want to use AI visuals, so you can only test the subject line and the call to action button and the microcopy. If you want to take it a step forward, we can only play around with the background. It's going to look amazing. Like it's gonna melt the model if it's a model presenter, if it's a product. It's going to be photorealistic. That's part of our tech. We're going to change the background. So if you don't want to change the model, if you want to change the model, we can do that as well. So depending on how much AI you want, we're going to give you the chance. But I would say that if you go as much as only changing the subject lines and preview text, in the course of 2 months, you're going to see a double-digit uplift because some people want the heart emoji and the other people want the star emoji. And you can tell that from your first-party data by experimenting. And the system's going to learn that and do that for you. So basically what we do is we give the 2 months, we get the tests out, you see the uplift, and then we go on for a commercial contract, which is also non-binding. And another important thing I have to say is that every variation is approved by the marketer. It's really important to say, right? We don't do anything full pilot mode. Everything we do is approved by the marketing or creative team before it ships out.
So the AI doesn't go rogue and start adding on a second head or something like that.
No.
Sure.
It's especially important subject lines, by the way, because subject lines can turn into clickbaits. And then you start getting unsubscribes, or maybe people open up the email and then they don't click it.
For sure.
It's
the
so
AI
so
could be
easy.
so crafty that it becomes almost like a little black hat in the way that its message. So it needs parameters. Yeah, for sure.
Yep.
Because like you said, yeah, you're totally right. I mean, if you tell AI to get me the best results possible,
Yep.
they could end up doing some gray hat stuff to end up getting those results you're looking for, which could be detrimental with unsubscribes and even spam. So yeah,
That's so true. And one of the things we do is we keep the algorithm. So the algorithm works by having an objective. So you tell, okay, the objective is clicks, but you also have a secondary objectives, which is to minimize unsubscribe rate. And it can learn to take into account both. And in any case, we don't ship anything without, a human in the loop on the client side to approve it. Although a lot of times the client, after a couple of months, would say, all right, I don't want to approve it, just do it. We still insist that they approve because we really believe that the control should be on the marketer's side.
very cool. Yeah, I remember the demo you were giving me on site was I think it was like a women's underwear brand, right? Something like
Right.
that. And it was a great use case to show the different types of female bodies. And I'm curious too, were you guys potentially pulling data into what sizes women potentially bought for that use case? Because that was really interesting. And obviously, when a woman's buying intimates or underwear, right? If there's a body that doesn't represent who she is,
Yep.
she's going to think, is this going to fit me? Is it going to feel right? Is it me? Am I going to feel right in this? So there's a lot of questions that go into body composition and how someone's related to it.
Right? It's not just size, it's a lot of things. You want to feel an emotional connection to what you're seeing. And it could be a lot of stuff. It could be your body shape, it can be your posture, it could be how you look. We have some tests. It's a shame I can't show it because it's client's data, right?
Yeah.
But we have some tests. Sometimes the machine will only change the gaze. So you have model not one like this, model two like this, 10% uplift to a certain
Wow.
population.
So it's just
Because,
a different look. It's just the way that the model is looking can have an
yep,
impact in, wow. And it's those
yep,
things that if you've ever done any creative work, especially production work like on-site photo and video, it's things that like an art director is directing on. Let's try this angle versus this angle. At the end of the day, the photos that are getting picked are all based on the taste and preferences of the creative team and the client. It's their own biases and opinions that are driving the results versus you can actually take those elements and tell the brand, this is what this customer wants to see.
it's true.
And you're
It's
giving
also
them a directive. Yeah,
it's also a very big value proposition because email can be an amazing playground for paid media. So think about it. You don't pay money to send out emails. And if you have AI, you can generate amazing emails fast. If you have the good AI, right? The right kind. And you can constantly test what works and what resonates with your clientele. And what we offer our clients is we call it the creative analytics dashboard. Basically, we're taking all the big winners. Like a big winner, if you scored like 20% above the control, like consistently, you're going to show up on the leaderboard. And a lot of times people just take these up, just put them as is into paid media. And most of the times they do amazingly well there. So it's like a cheat to you
yeah,
drive your
because
paid media up.
that's genius. You're
Yep.
essentially multivariate testing in retention and then pulling the winners and then putting those into rotation in different aspects of your paid media funnel. It's amazing.
Yep.
It's also giving your paid media team and retention team, when they're generating more assets for future campaigns, they know this is a look that we need to focus on, right? And
Hmm.
they have some qualitative data to actually play off of versus the directive of a creative director or art director who says, I want this
Yep.
because I like it.
It's
It's
true.
our
And
opinion. Our opinions of marketers mean less and less every day
yep.
because our opinion is going to reflect our taste on our own biases. Yeah,
Yeah, that's the biggest thing I think that AI solves. We're talking about AI and AI research. Now, the biggest innovation in AI and machine learning is that ability to break down stuff into their tiniest components and then understand how the different stuff intertwine. So that's the magic in deep learning. It's called neural nets. That's what neural nets do. So they'll take a piece of content, say an image, and they'll break it down into numbers, and then they'll start crunching the numbers, and then they'll understand how the different stuff react with each other. So when a human being looks at an image, I can do only a very shallow analysis. Maybe if I'm a genius, I can do something better. I look at your screen and say, okay, the background is one color. Your shirt is another color. So I notice some stuff, but there's stuff in the composition that's beyond me to understand, right? It's how the things intertwine with each other. And it's so much difficult for a person to do that, but the AI can do that amazingly well. And it can actually really beat the bias. You still need to be on brand, so you have a lot of constraints, and you still need to give the marketers and the creative teams the control that they need because it's important to have the intuition. It's important to have the control to where the creative is going.
totally. And
And
the more control you have, like the more, you can actually, if you've got no controls, then you're going to get so many different options that you really don't know what's an outlier. So having
right,
control over it, also having some control over brand, I'm sure is pretty essential. My other question for you too is I'm just curious, what does reporting look like? Like you're getting all this data, right? After a test. What does reporting look like here? And what does like the long term play of 6 months into 6 months post test, 12 months post test, what does long term look like for a brand that's using Icona and what they're
Great.
looking for, what they're doing? Yeah.
So reporting is very important. Attribution is very important. We're in the A/B testing. We basically want to proceed to replace A/B testing. So you always have to show it, the marketer the delta that you did. So what we do is we always keep a control group. It can be 10% of the population, could be 5%, depending on if we need to reach statistical significance. But we always compare performance towards what was business as usual before we integrated. And we show you, hey, this is the delta, this is the money that we did for you this month. And you're going to see it on the dashboard, and you have an app, you can see it on the app, and it could be addictive because you keep on scrolling and trying to see how much money. It's like meta ads, right? You want to
Yeah.
see how much money you did. So we try to make it as addictive as possible because it's fun to look at the numbers go up.
100%.
And then you have the creative analytics dashboard, which basically shows you your winning creatives. And so you can see what's going on there. So these are the two dashboards that we have. And in terms of outcome, we aim at a double-digit uplift, which is continuous, right? Across your flows and across your campaigns. So about 6 months after integration, each email that comes out of you, each SMS, each push notification, each pop-up on the site, everything coming up from marketing automation is going to be adaptive and changing basically to the different segments that you're addressing. And that should lead to a double-digit uplift in your metrics.
Wow. That's awesome. That's a great use case and a great pitch in general. Yeah.
Thanks.
Very cool. With that being said, like, where do you see Icona going in the future? You guys got a killer product right now. You're in market. You're working with some pretty awesome brands, getting momentum, growing I know you said you guys are growing your team right now. Where do you see Icona going, like, over the next year or two with the platform, with access in your product roadmap?
Right. So we were very fortunate to partner up really early with some amazing brands and amazing clients. And that was such a pleasure to learn from and develop the product together. And there's so much more to do on the product side to make it more and more automatic and more scalable and more powerful. And right now, each client that we onboard is a pretty long process. It would take us a couple of weeks until we understand their data, understand their first party data, extract the information, from example, from the previous purchase, right? So here's an example, right? If a client is apparel, when I look at the previous purchase, I need to extract, I don't care about the name of the SKU, right? I want to know the size, I want to know the color. So there's features I need to extract in order for the system to start learning, and that takes time. So we're not a self-serve product yet, right? We have some time after we integrate to understand the client. And we want to make that automatic so that it can be scalable. Everyone can just buy Icona off the App Store and just install it, and they don't need us to onboard them. That's a very big.
It'll be so really going to a seamless integration is top priority right now.
And also usage. So this is a bit, we make it as simple as possible. It's still something new. This is a new technology. We want to make it as simple as possible and as seamless as possible in the marketer's flow when they're using it, to make it as easy to use as possible. And the other thing, which is very exciting, is we're going to release basically what we call the variation engine, which is what we use under the hoods to create the content. It's basically an automatic email generator. So it's pretty similar, like in concept, to some other stuff existing today. So Klaviyo is doing that. You have Pompelli by Google. If you've seen that, have you seen it? It's pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's an automatic email generator, but it's going to be very well built, and it's going to be really production grade, and it's going to integrate into your Klaviyo. So we're going to ship that by January as a beta. And we're basically allowing marketers and creative teams to basically use the same AI tools we're using in-house, only as a simplified version so they can create the stuff themselves. And we're really excited about that.
That's awesome.
Yep.
Can't wait to see it. Nice. Nir, this was incredible conversation today. Like, I thank you for sharing about your background, about the product, and where you're seeing AI go in the future. And I think what you're building is truly revolutionary from what a lot of the MarTech that we see in the space that's AI related right now. And with that being said, like, how can people get in touch with you? Or if they're interested in going into a trial, and where can they find you guys?
So further of all, thanks again for having me, Mark. It's a pleasure being here. It's a great pleasure talking to you and seeing you.
You're welcome.
And yeah, you can directly contact me via email. It's near@eikona.io. Near is spelled NIR. And you can visit our website. There's some content there. There's a white paper we've published recently and a couple of case studies and a bit of a drill down about what we do. You can also contact me on LinkedIn if you guys want. Just shoot a message. I'll reply.
Great. We'll put your LinkedIn in the show notes. So it's
Great.
easy to access. Cool. Along with the
Appreciate
domain.
it.
Thanks, Nir. Thank you so much for joining us today. And I can't wait to see where things go in the new year for you. So
Exciting times, man. Exciting times to be a marketer.
I agree. I agree.
Yep.
Thanks, Nir. Appreciate it.
All right.
Great having you on.
Thanks, Mark.